Well, surviving in a matrix, well, the question is, what is a matrix? Well, of course, we're not talking about the movie, The Matrix, but we're talking about real life. This morning, I had a chat with one of my clients, and he said, like, yeah, I still remember when I was working for internet service provider, and the way they were running projects was, well, they had to set up a new project, then they identified this, they defined the scope, they identified the people they needed due to their skill set. Then they went to the lab managers and said, by the way, we need this person, we need that person. And of course, all these people were approved. And they gathered all the people in one big room, which was their project room, and they started. In other words, the project by itself was the most important thing, and the line organization was not that important. I guess that's an ideal situation. It's where line organization, line department is maybe exists on paper, but doesn't really have so much influence. At least for its project managers, that would be the ideal world. Well, or dream work, we can say. It's tough to say, but fact is, real life is different. In my experience, and I have been managing projects for more than 16 years now in various industries. In most cases, you've experienced like a very strong line organization, and projects, yes, they're cross-functional, but yeah, they coexist, you can say. Well, the question then is like, well, if you are a trained project manager, maybe you're certified or not, doesn't really matter, and you think you know what a project is going to be about, and then you are facing these challenges with a line organization, with line managers who only care about their own daily business. How do you handle this situation? And this is why I came up with this webinar, Surviving the Matrix, because it can be very, very difficult if you do not have the right tools, if you do not know what approach you have to take. And that's why I would like to share my experiences about what is effective project management in a matrix organization that may help you to survive in a matrix. Okay, how to outline this webinar? Well, there are 6 parts. The first part is project in a matrix. We have already been talking about what do I mean by project in a matrix. The second part is, it's a very important part, and often it is neglected. And that is, quo vadis means, where are you going? What is the goal of a project? And we'll talk about why it makes a difference, whether you speak about SMART project objectives or if you actually talk about MVPs. And we'll talk about what MVPs stand for. Then the work package structure is the key instrument for survival in a matrix. It's an approach, as you can say, it's a tool, and this can actually do the trick in quite a few projects and matrix organizations. The part 4, project organization, will talk about the various roles and responsibilities. Part 5, we will cover an early warning system, how to develop an early warning system and how to establish it. And last but not least, part 6 talks about continuous learning in a matrix organization. Here we go. Part 1, the project. Well, we do know what a project is. We can take the definition of the PMBOK, but the question is, definition, is it still right in a matrix organization? And I found out that at least it can be challenged. You cannot really take it literally and say, by the way, this is a project, this is how it has to be run, and everything is fine. No, again, a matrix organization or a weak project matrix organization is a situation where you have line departments and they have lots of power, lots of influence, and projects are not that important. They do not have, to say, the weight they ought to have. And then all of a sudden you are assigned to as a project manager, and you have to run the show. And maybe you know all the folks in the organization. Sometimes you don't. As an external consultant, I can tell you, usually I do not know the line departments, and they are very skeptical every time when they see an external consultant managing a project. Okay, so where do we start? What is a project? A project if the decision maker has given the green light for project objective, work package structure, project organization, and the early warning system. Basically, all those things we'll talk about in this webinar. Is know who the decision maker is. Can be the first problem sometimes, because let's say as an external consultant, the person hiring me is not necessarily the person who is actually the decision maker on a project. So your line manager is calling the shots, sometimes somebody else. So then one of the first things you as a project manager have to find out who's actually the ultimate decision maker. Then that has to know something about the project. After this webinar, you can tell him or her exactly what he or she ought to know and what they should support if they are interested in project success. Okay, what are the goals? What is the work package structure? They have to have a good understanding of their various roles and responsibilities. And they should support. They should actually welcome an early warning system in case planned deviations happen. And planned deviations always happen in a good project, I guess. Okay. So now the project is in a matrix organization. Let's head over to before we do so, the project, it's not just a formal start. Talk about formalities where you have to sign papers, etc. If you get it right at the very beginning, chances are it could become a great journey. If you do not get it right, if you do not invest the necessary time to build a good and solid foundation for your project, well, you could end up with a death march project, which is not a lot of fun. So anyway, we'll just plan a little later on. Cool about it. Well, sure, because it reminds me of, well, us. We're working for an organization, and somewhere up there is the top management, and maybe we even have a sponsor for a project, but we don't even know where the organization is heading. It's like, what's the overall direction of the company, organization, your project fit in? Know how it wants to fit in, how and where it will fit in. To give you an example, suppose you are working on a product, somewhere in IT, of course, and you want to tell somebody on the floor what you're working on, or maybe you want to you're talking to your friends and you want to tell them, hey, you have to buy this new product, I'm working on, or we have just finished working on. It's a great thing. And you tell them, well, here's the deal. Our products are beautifully designed and user-friendly. We want to buy one. And then they say, yes, well, tell me a little bit more about it and some of the features, and maybe I'm interested, maybe I'm not. Or you tell a different story, and the story may go like this. Well, everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we do this is by making our product beautifully designed and user-friendly. Want to buy one? It could be that you're talking about exactly the same product, and yet the message is completely different. You can say on the left hand, on the black side, it could be maybe a product made by Dell or some other computer company. On the right side, you may have